Hi there, challengers. It's Ingrid Owens here from Beginners Photography blog and the Take 52 challenge. I'm sorry I am so late coming to you this week with my critique from the blog, but I'm here nonetheless right now, so let's get cracking. Now, this week's image was, the theme was formless, and that's a very tricky thing to try and put into photograph, because by the very nature of formless, it's something that doesn't have form and that's moving and whatnot, and that isn't structured. And by taking a photograph, you're forcing it into some form or another. And so really what I wanted you to do is try and capture something that really doesn't have any form and give that feeling in a photograph. And trying to evoke feeling in a photograph is very tricky. But once you've reached that stage, you have jumped past at the basic stages of photography, because you're starting to bring creativity into play. Now, I do try and do a different photograph every week from a different person, but this image is from Liz Forrester, who actually was featured last week on the blog, but I couldn't pass it by because I kept coming back to it as one that it is a really beautiful image, and it also demonstrates some techniques to people that they may not be used to using, and that's what this critique is all about. So I think she has done once again an outstanding job. Now let me see. I didn't write down what her shutter speed and tech specs were. Let me see if I can do that right here. I think I put them somewhere. Excuse me one moment while I write this in, because it's important that people see that. All right. Okay, so Liz used shutter priority mode, and if you haven't used any of the priority modes yet, shutter priority gives you the opportunity to control your shutter speed and let the camera figure out what the aperture is. And in this instance, Liz wanted to get a nice slow shutter speed so that she could show that movement of the wind in the grass, and that's where how she gets this blur, because she used a really slow shutter speed. The other thing with her shutter speed is a quarter of a second, and she was saying that she was having issues getting it that slow and not having overexposure, right? Because her ISO won't go any lower than 160 ISO. So what was she to do? She can't cut down the light that's coming from the sunshine. So what she used was her neutral density filter. And if you aren't familiar with using filters, this is just a way of creatively controlling some light that's getting into your camera, a bit like sunglasses for your camera. So this was the perfect example of when to do that, and I love this shot. So there's a couple of things that I really love about it. Okay, so technically it's really nicely done, very slow shutter speed, showing the movement of the grass there, which is nice. I would like to know if you had used a tripod or not, Liz, because I feel that at f6 maybe that wheel in the background should have been or could have been sharper. And it might have just been given a wee bit more depth to the photograph, if it, or maybe not depth is the right word, but just a little bit sharper. I think there's a bit of shake there because of being handheld, but possibly not. That would happen because of slow shutter speeds, but possibly not. So I'd be love if you'd let me know that. And the other thing about it is I don't know if I'm so much of a fan of the square crop. I might like it to have be a little bit lower down in the frame, and maybe take some of the tire off here at the top, and maybe just make it a little bit squatter and seeing a little bit more of the grass out to the side rather than just the square. This line here is also a little bit distracting. It tends to cut the picture in two, but if you could pull it down a little bit, even like a crop, like something like that, and if it was to go out here at the side a little bit more, it might be a little better. So the wheel, it's still obvious that it's a wheel, but it's not just taking up as much as the picture. But I really do love it, and I love the fact that you've used that wheel to contrast it. I mean, it's something very stationary and solid and grounded, and old, and that contrasts very well with the movement of the wind in the grass, and that you have shown with the shutter speed, the slow shutter speed. So really a good job done. Maybe consider cropping it in a different way. I don't think that you should remove the wheel altogether, but I do think maybe we could just have it less, because as it is, my eye is very much drawn to the center, because it is kind of centered in that square frame. My eye is very much drawn here, where really this is kind of where I want it to be looking at. But well done, Liz. Thank you for submitting again. We'll give you a break next week. And I will have the theme is already up this week. We're talking about markings, and I know a lot of people have some really good shots. So I'll try and get the critique of it up a little bit sooner next week. All right, have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and I'll talk to you online.